What a beautiful introduction.
Oh?
Yeah. Well, of course, the 39 are the only ones that I had seen until I lost it. But it's funny how I got the job, and I've often thought, what would my career have been if I hadn't been home that afternoon?
The Honeymooners was America's favorite comedy, a beacon of laughter in the 1950s, but for Audrey Meadows, it hit a struggle few could imagine. For over 40 years, she kept silent about her co-star, Jackie Gleason. At 73, her revelation stunned fans, rewriting the legacy of a television classic. What truth did she uncover, and why did it take decades to share? Join me to unravel a story that's as powerful as the show itself. Every Saturday night in the 1950s, millions tuned in to watch Ralph and Alice Kramden bicker, laugh, and love their way through the Honeymooners. Their on-screen marriage felt so real, so raw, that fans believed it mirrored reality. But what if the truth was far more complicated? Audrey Meadows, the woman who brought Alice to life, carried a secret for decades, one that would reshape how we view television's golden couple. When she finally spoke at 72, her words unveiled a side of Jackie Gleason, the man known as the Great One, that few had ever seen. What was it about their partnership that kept her silent for so long, and why did she choose to break that silence? Audrey Meadows was no ordinary actress. Born in 1922 in Wuchang, China, to Episcopal missionary parents, she grew up navigating a world of challenges, from a childhood accident that left subtle scars to a family uprooted to America in 1927. By 16, she was singing at Carnegie Hall, her voice echoing through New York's grandest halls. She dazzled on Broadway in Top Banana with Phil Silvers, earning a reputation as a versatile talent. But when she auditioned for Alice Kramden in 1952, Jackie Gleason rejected her outright. "Too young, too pretty," he said, unable to see her as a working-class housewife. Determined, Audrey staged a bold move. She called a photographer to her apartment at dawn, donning a worn housecoat, mussing her hair, and stripping away her makeup. Those gritty photos landed on Gleason's desk, and he knew instantly. She was his Alice. But could her determination prepare her for the storm that awaited on set? The Honeymooners wasn't just a show, it was a cultural phenomenon. Airing its 39 iconic episodes from 1955 to 1956 on CBS, it captured the heart of working-class America with its raw humor and relatable struggles. Ralph Kramden, the blustering bus driver with big dreams, and Alice, his sharp-tongued, grounded wife, felt like neighbors you knew. Their chemistry was electric, so convincing that fans mailed Audrey curtains for the Kramdens' bare apartment windows, as noted in a 1955 Kenosha News interview. But behind the laughter, a different story unfolded. Audrey and Jackie barely spoke off camera, their interactions limited to work. Why did their distance create such magic on screen? In her 1994 memoir, Love, Alice, My Life as a Honeymooner, Audrey hinted at the answer. Their tension, born of professional respect and personal friction, fueled their performances. Jackie Gleason was a force of nature. Known as the Great One, he commanded the Honeymooners set like a king, controlling every script, every camera angle, every decision. His $11 million contract, worth $129 million today, gave him unmatched power. He shunned rehearsals, believing spontaneity was the soul of comedy, as Audrey recalled in her memoir. Filmed with the innovative Electronicam system, the show demanded perfection in front of a live audience, with no room for mistakes. A flubbed line could trigger Gleason's temper, turning the set silent. Crew members later shared, as noted in a 2025 MeTV article, that the air would stiffen when Jackie walked in. How did Audrey, with her opera-trained poise, navigate this unpredictable environment? She memorized everyone's lines, ready to pivot if a scene went awry, earning her the nickname Rock of from Gleason himself. Despite their on-screen magic, Audrey and Jackie's off-screen relationship was distant. They shared no warm dinners, no casual laughs. In a rare moment of candor, Audrey confided to a friend, "People think we had chemistry because we liked each other. It worked because we didn't." This lack of personal connection, she suggested, gave their performances an authentic edge, as the tension between Ralph and Alice mirrored their real-life dynamic. Yet, maintaining this illusion took a toll. Audrey's professionalism shone through. She was always prepared, always composed. But the emotional weight of working under Gleason's shadow began to build. In her memoir, she called The Honeymooners a love letter to Jackie, yet didn't shy away from the challenges, noting the set could feel dull, the bulbs not very bright, a subtle nod to the heavy atmosphere. As The Honeymooners skyrocketed to fame, its 39 episodes became a cornerstone of television history, still rerun on cable and streaming platforms today. Audrey's decision to speak out in 1994 through her memoir and interviews was no small act. She knew her words could alter the legacy of a show that defined an era. The laughter of The Honeymooners filled living rooms across 1950s America. But for Audrey Meadows, each episode was a test of endurance. Jackie Gleason's towering presence dominated the set, his brilliance matched by a temper that could shift in an instant. One day, he might critique her performance in front of the entire cast, his words sharp enough to sting. The next, he'd act as if nothing had happened, leaving Audrey to navigate a maze of unpredictability. This emotional whiplash was a silent burden, one she carried with the same poise that made Alice Kramden unforgettable. Why did she stay in such a high-stakes environment? Her belief in the show's magic and her own resilience kept her grounded, even as the toll mounted behind her steady smile. Audrey's strength wasn't just in her acting, it was in her silence. In the 1950s, Hollywood demanded women stay polished and quiet, especially when working with a star like Gleason. The Honeymooners wasn't just a sitcom, it was a lifeline for working-class families, offering laughter after long days, as fans wrote in letters preserved in a 1955 Kenosha News article. Could revealing the truth behind the scenes shatter that joy for millions? Audrey chose to protect the show's legacy, keeping her struggles private. She smiled at events, praised Jackie in speeches, and locked her true feelings away, knowing their on-screen chemistry was a rare spark that couldn't be risked. Her silence was a calculated choice, born of necessity and strategy. The entertainment world of the 1950s was unforgiving. Actresses labeled difficult rarely worked again. Audrey understood this, balancing her role as Alice with the need to navigate Gleason's control. Her foresight went beyond acting. She negotiated residuals for reruns, a rare move that ensured she benefited from the show's enduring popularity, as noted in a 2023 Yahoo article. How did she maintain her composure under such pressure? Her opera-trained discipline and sharp wit allowed her to deliver razor-sharp performances while tiptoeing around Gleason's moods, preserving her place in television history. Yet, silence came at a cost. Friends later shared that Audrey confided in them about the set's tension, describing moments when Gleason's charm could light up a room and others when his outbursts left everyone frozen. She considered walking away, but CBS executives, aware of her value, urged her to stay, calling her chemistry with Gleason lightning in a bottle. Leaving a hit show wasn't just a personal risk, it could disrupt a cultural phenomenon. So Audrey poured her energy into her work, taking on roles after The Honeymooners, like Ted Knight's mother-in-law in Too Close for Comfort, where she had more creative control, as mentioned in a 2024 Medium post. But the emotional scars lingered, visible in the way her face tightened when Gleason's name came up, a subtle sign of battles fought in silence. Decades later, the weight of that silence grew too heavy. At 72 in 1994, Audrey published Love Alice, My Life as a Honeymooner, sharing her story with quiet honesty. She didn't aim to tear down Gleason, but to reveal the man behind the legend. A genius whose charm could win over a crowd, yet whose volatility could silence a set. What pushed her to speak after so long? Her memoir described moments of warmth, like Gleason's surprise gifts to the cast, but also the dread of his sudden outbursts, as reviewers noted on Goodreads. Her words were restrained, never bitter, offering a balanced view that honored the show while acknowledging its challenges. Audrey's revelations didn't just illuminate Gleason, they redefined the Honeymooners. Fans learned that the chemistry between Ralph and Alice wasn't born from friendship, but from friction, adding depth to the show's legacy. Her memoir, praised for its humor and grace, showed that even television's golden age had its shadows. What did her honesty mean for those who loved the show? It gave voice to others who faced similar challenges, proving that strength could emerge from silence. The stage of the Honeymooners was a world unto itself, alive with Jackie Gleason's brilliance but shadowed by his unpredictability. Writers, crew, and producers all felt the weight of his moods, moving cautiously to avoid his sudden storms. Yet, no one carried a heavier burden than Audrey Meadows. As his on-screen wife, she had to mirror his energy without eclipsing him, deliver biting wit without wounding his pride, and stay poised through his emotional swings. It wasn't just acting, it was survival. How did she manage to shine under such pressure? Her resilience was the quiet force that held the show together, even as it tested her limits. Reflecting years later, Audrey peeled back the layers of their dynamic with piercing clarity. "Our chemistry wasn't born from friendship," she said in her 1994 memoir, Love, Alice. "It came from the tension between us." Jackie's erratic nature kept her sharp, her steady presence anchoring his chaos. What looked like playful sparring to fans was often a real clash, a delicate dance between two forces with clashing values. That friction gave their scenes a raw edge, making the Honeymooners feel alive, almost too real. Why did their struggles translate into such unforgettable comedy? No one could question Jackie's talent. Audrey herself called him a once-in-a-generation performer, his comedic timing unmatched. But his genius had a shadow. One moment, he'd charm with a perfectly timed quip. The next, he'd snap over a trivial misstep, leaving the set silent. That unpredictability fueled the show's energy, its sense that anything could happen. The 39 episodes, filmed live with the Electronicam system, captured that rawness, as noted in a 2023 MeTV article. Their performances weren't just funny. They were electric with unspoken tension, a truth that made the show timeless. When Jackie passed in 1987, the world mourned a titan of comedy. Tributes hailed him as the architect of television humor, his legacy cemented by roles like Ralph Kramden and Minnesota Fats in The Hustler. But for Audrey, his death was deeply personal. She attended his funeral quietly, offering no public statements, just a private farewell to a man who had defined her career. Later, she confided to friends, "I forgave him, but I never forgot." What did that forgiveness mean for her? It was a release, a way to honor their shared history without erasing its scars, a step toward peace after years of carrying the weight. Audrey's public persona was one of grace. She spoke warmly of Jackie, sharing light-hearted stories of their time on set, always careful not to overshadow her work with drama. But privately, the role of Alice Kramden left marks that lingered. She once told a loved one that the show gave her fame and opportunity, but stole her peace of mind. The emotional toll of those years followed her, even as she took on new roles, like her work in Too Close for Comfort. By waiting until her 70s to share her truth, she ensured her story was heard on her terms, joining a wave of women whose voices reshaped Hollywood's narrative. Jackie Gleason's life was as bold as his performances. By 1987, his net worth reached $10 million, $25 million in 2025 dollars, built not just on acting, but on savvy ventures. He founded Coral Records in 1953, a label that nurtured his music and others. His real estate included the UFO House in New York, a futuristic mansion costing $7 million in 1953 today's dollars, listed for $12 million in 2018. Gleason lived lavishly, indulging in fine dining and premium cigars, yet he famously said, "I don't care about money. His retention of the Honeymooners' rights ensured lasting royalties, teaching us that legacy outlives wealth. Audrey's decision to speak out was a quiet act of courage. She didn't seek to dismantle Jackie's legacy, but to add her voice to it, revealing the human cost behind the laughter. Her 1994 memoir showed that even the greatest shows carry hidden struggles, a truth that deepened the show's legacy. How did her honesty change the way we see the Honeymooners? It reminded us that brilliance often comes with pain and that the stories behind the screen matter as much as the ones on it. We love to romanticize the golden age of television, picturing it as a time of pure joy. But Audrey's truth paints a richer picture, one of complex partnerships, unspoken battles, and resilience. She left us more than iconic lines. She left a lesson. Silence isn't always strength, and speaking your truth even decades later is a powerful act of freedom. In her final years, Audrey stepped out of Alice's shadow and into her own light, reminding us that the truest performances are the ones we live off-screen. What stories are still waiting to be told? As we close the curtain on the story of Audrey Meadows and Jackie Gleason, it's impossible not to feel a swirl of emotions: nostalgia for the laughter they brought us, admiration for Audrey's quiet strength, and a deeper understanding of the complexities behind the Honeymooners. This journey has taken us beyond the black and white frames of a 1950s sitcom, revealing a tale of resilience, tension, and truth. Audrey, the heart of Alice Kramden, carried a burden few could see, navigating Jackie's unpredictable brilliance while protecting the show's legacy for decades. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was a choice, one that preserved the magic of a show that still resonates today. When she finally spoke in her 70s through her memoir, Love, Alice, her words didn't shatter that legacy, but enriched it, showing that even the greatest performances come with a human cost. Audrey's story is one of endurance. On the set of The Honeymooners, she faced Jackie's volatile moods, delivering razor-sharp performances while managing a high-stakes environment. Her ability to shine as Alice, grounded, witty, and relatable, was no accident. It came from a place of discipline, honed by her early years singing at Carnegie Hall and starring on Broadway in Top Banana. But the emotional toll was real. She once confided to a friend that the role gave her fame, but stole her peace of mind, a sentiment that lingered even as she took on new roles in shows like Too Close for Comfort. Her decision to stay silent for over 40 years was strategic, rooted in the 1950s Hollywood reality where speaking out could end a career. Yet her eventual honesty reshaped how we see The Honeymooners, adding depth to its 39 iconic episodes, still celebrated on platforms like Catchy Comedy. Jackie Gleason, the man known as the Great One, was a paradox. A comic genius whose talent lit up the screen, but whose temperament cast shadows. His $10 million net worth by 1987, roughly $25 million today, reflected his larger-than-life persona. He owned the futuristic UFO house in Peekskill, New York, a $7 million marvel later listed for $12 million. His business ventures, like founding Coral Records, showcased his savvy, while his love for fine dining and premium cigars spoke to his lavish lifestyle. Yet, as Audrey revealed, wealth didn't erase the challenges of working with him. His retention of the Honeymooners' rights ensured lasting royalties, a lesson in securing one's legacy, but his volatility taught us that fame often comes with hidden struggles. The chemistry between Audrey and Jackie wasn't born from friendship, but from friction, a truth that made their performances electric. Fans felt it, sending Audrey letters with advice on handling Ralph, even suggesting curtains for the Kramdens' bare apartment. Those iconic scenes, often ending with Ralph's "Baby, you're the greatest," weren't always what they seemed. Audrey once told her aunt the kisses were staged, a charming detail that underscores the artifice behind the magic. Yet, their bond had moments of genuine connection. Days before Jackie's passing in 1987, Audrey called him, speaking through his wife, Marilyn, as his illness made words difficult. That final exchange showed a respect that endured, despite the scars. Audrey's legacy is one of quiet courage. Her memoir, praised for its humor and grace, didn't just defend Jackie, it humanized him, showing a man who was kind, intelligent, and flawed. Her truth joined a growing chorus of women in the 1990s who spoke out about their experiences, proving that silence could give way to strength. Even in her final days, battling lung cancer she kept private until the end, Audrey remained resilient, passing in 1996 with her sister Jane by her side. Her story reminds us that behind every laugh is a life lived, and every performance carries a hidden weight. If this tale of resilience and revelation moved you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe a favorite Honeymooners moment, or what Audrey's courage means to you. A like goes a long way to keep these stories alive, and subscribing ensures you won't miss what's next. Speaking of which, our upcoming episode dives into another Hollywood legend, uncovering the secrets behind their rise and the battles they fought off-screen. It's a story you won't want to miss. Audrey Meadows taught us that truth, even when whispered decades later, can echo louder than the loudest applause. Her voice, steady and clear, reminds us that the truest performances happen not under the spotlight, but in the quiet moments when we choose to speak. So, as we leave Ralph and Alice behind, let's carry forward the lesson that every story deserves its stage and every voice its moment to shine.